Great.
So here we have Keith, Captain England Bibby, asking the questions for Lee Buggy. Is that right? Buggy, yeah.
From Bury Council.
And he's the guy who's started it all off, really.
Yeah.
Well, it's you guys, isn't it? So.
Yeah, from origin, yeah.
So, Lee, you started the walking football. What sort of made you start the walking football?
Well, in my council capacity or role, I'm the Principal Physical Activity Development Officer, so it's pretty much in the wording as physical activity development. I amazingly saw it on Transworld Sport one Saturday morning. They were having a walking football tournament down at Play Football in Bury. And my manager at the time, who worked for Public Health, suggested, why aren't we doing anything as Bury Leisure? So that's where the idea was born from. We've got the facilities across two sites. We've got Castle Leisure Centre and Radcliffe, massive sports halls, and we're not doing anything or catering for an older demographic in Bury. So we thought walking sports would be the way forward. I think initially I put on walking football session. I put on a women's walking football session, so it was equitable. And I also put on a walking netball session. Now, two of them faded away. Unfortunately, the women's netball session and the women's football session, but I kept a universal offer on in the main sports hall so that it was equitable for males, females, whoever wanted to come and play regardless of age in the walking game, really. So that's where it was born from originally, and now we're 2.5, 3?
More than that.
4 years on.
Yeah.
And obviously we've had the pandemic since that, so it obviously hit our numbers, but ultimately we're building back. And there's a bit of recovery. We can see in the numbers there's a bit of recovery from that. I think when we first put the session on, Keith, there was 3 that turned up. Ian still attends, who goes in the gym, and we had to come down as staff. So it was dying at the time. We used to come down in our dinner hour and play to make up the numbers. So we were concerned at the time. And then I think as we hit the pandemic, we were getting 30s. So we only had one side of the main sports hall initially, and I think we had to book the other side of the sports hall, and we had 2 games going on, if you remember. We had a competitive type game, which became the Relics, so they kind of gravitated it because they became competitive, and then we had a recreational session where people could just come and play without any of that competitive nature, and there was a bit of support for them, and you know what I mean, people with, I'd say, more severe long-term conditions. There were people with learning disabilities, there were people with mental health, there's people who were recovering from stroke that were coming down and just wanted to play. There was no competitive element to why they were here. It was purely for health gains. And then the last bit, which was key for me, was I think we had some lads come down to my age, 41-ish, just overweight, and really wanted to shift some weight. So I kind of had to remove the age barrier, and it just became a walking football, not an aging walking football offer, just a walking football offer for anyone. Yeah. But I think the vision of walking football is that you've got to be 50 plus. Not at all. Not why I designed the session, not why I wanted the session to run. It was for people to come and get fit and have fun. Not everyone wants to go in a gym and pick up weights. It's boring. It's done in isolation. I want to be with people. I think that's the key element of it. So that's where we are with that piece.
Great. And what do you think the health benefits are for people that come along?
In terms of health benefits, probably holistically for me is more around the social value, what people get from coming and attending, and the mental value for coming and attending. I think my dad's a good example of that. Retired, due to ill health, has to stop playing. Still comes down and refs the sessions. Still comes down, wants a brew with you lot. Still goes out on socials with you guys. Still attends end of season do. Still manages the Relics team. So it's not about the playing anymore. It's about being around people who have similar interests. I think that's probably key for me. The other bit, obviously, physically and the indirect benefits. Obviously, as we get older, we're racing towards coronary heart disease, we're racing towards respiratory disease, we're racing towards diabetes, high cholesterol, lifestyle factors. I think for me, this just helps control them. I'm not saying it's a silver bullet. I'm not saying it's the quick win or the fix. It contributes to physical wellness. I think indirectly, I never turn up on a football pitch and think, well, that's done my blood pressure good. But I think indirectly, I know it's doing me physically good. It's not why I attend football sessions or why you guys probably. It's more around the enjoyment of still playing the game at whatever age and whatever functional fitness we possibly have. That's for me the major benefit.
John and I were discussing it yesterday and we came up with the term, the walking football sessions are for the people that think it's all over. But it's not over.
Spot on, Keith.
I mean, from my point of view, I was diagnosed with Parkinson's in January 2014.
Yeah.
Took early retirement in 2015. 2017 came down here, found this on the web, came
Oh,
down
wow.
here. So from 2017 to now, and now I've been selected for England walking football.
Some journey, isn't it?
So it's just, and that's with Parkinson's, and I'm 70 now. So you're never too old and you're never too ill, really.
Absolutely. I think it's a nice
But
caption to have, isn't it?
It's not all over.
Definitely not all over. It's just, well, it's not just the beginning, but it's a continuation. Yeah.
And I think that's where I see those pathways now. I was probably racking my brains before you came in today. We have Radcliffe Sonics now, which is a women's football team who play out of Radcliffe. They got funding via Bury Council and set up a walking football group of their own. We've got Maccabee in the Borough that play down in Prestwich, that have a walking football session. Yeah. You've got Love Football, who are based out of Ramsbottom, that have a walking football session. There's still one at Play Football, so we've got 5 or 6 sessions now in the Borough that are running walking football sessions. So while some of them might be competitive, semi-competitive, and gender specific, I think there's something for everyone in terms of what we probably offer, and it's a nice transition as well through grassroots football, open age football, the vets, probably where I sit now, into walking football. I think there's a pathway, like you said, Keith, there's something for everyone.
Absolutely.
If you want to play football, there's something there for everyone across the life course. I think that's key as well.
Yeah.
I think as a borough, we're quite strong in terms of the walking offer that we put on. Do I think it could be marketed better? Absolutely. And promoted better? Absolutely.
What's it all about?
That's
That's
completely.
what this video's all about.
You're doing a good job, lads. You're doing a brilliant job.
So yeah, I think for me it could be marketed better, but with limited resource that we have as a council. It's a challenge. It's always a challenge. I think the best bit for me has been, are you ready for it? Word of mouth. I think that's the best promotion we have. I work with a colleague, Kim Griffiths, within the council. Obviously you've Wayne now, who comes down, Wayne Griffiths, who comes down, and this was just through me speaking to Kim about putting on walking football. She spoke to Wayne. I think one of Wayne's mates comes down and now plays. So it's all word of mouth. Best man at my wedding, now his dad plays, Mr. Blakely. So, so John was my best mate. He was my best man. So Alan Blakely, Al's my best man's dad. So through word of mouth. So I think that's key, isn't it, as well? It's just people are talking locally in our communities about, we've got this session on, come down and give it a go. And there's that taboo, isn't there, around walking football. I'm not playing walking football, it's for old men.
They think it's easy.
I think it's easy.
Yeah, that happened to me because Andy Richardson told me about it, and I was thinking it's going to be really pedestrian and really slow and you know, like you just see people walking around, but actually when you play, it's competitive. Yeah. You know, I mean, I must admit, people don't strictly stick to walking. It's not walking football, but it is something people can do.
That's where it needs to be managed, doesn't it? I think that's good where you have people like a Keith or a Pat or my dad that come down and manage those sessions. Not manage, but they help give those sessions some structure that everyone then has a level playing field.
Certainly Ken as the referee keeps the lid on.
I believe so, I believe so.
Oh, he's a good ref. He's a good ref, Ken.
It's equitable then, isn't it?
Everyone
is on whether I come and play at 41 or if you're playing at 70, it's a level play. We have to walk. Whereas on an open pitch, your physical attributes come into not necessarily walking football.
Exactly,
and I think you have the option. You can go in net, you can referee, you can manage the team, you can just get involved in the socials.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think what's been nice to see as well, Keith, is the WhatsApp group as well that's been born from this as well. I think you've interest outside of just walking football. The golf recently, I think it's a great idea. Those who want to go and have that golf day, I think it's, it's a smashing idea that was born from, it was all from here. And yes, the Relics have gone off and done the more competitive element of what we've now become as Bury Relics, but having this session in terms of recreational football, people then have the option to transition to a more competitive game should they want to.
If they want to,
If they want to. And that's the key word, isn't it? And I think some do both, don't they?
Yeah, well, we've got a guy who comes down and just wants to do this and play.
Fine.
He's good enough to play for the Relics, but he's not interested in competitive football.
Great. And that's a nice to have, I think, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I quite like the social side afterwards. So we all go for a council brew afterwards, which is really nice. Cappuccino upstairs, and we have biscuits, and it's a good social side. You know.
Yeah, I agree.
So I think we have at least 8 people who turn up for that. So not everybody, but most people come upstairs
Well,
afterwards.
it's the option again, isn't it?
Yeah.
The option
Yeah.
of that. So yeah, I think that's probably key to it, and I'm glad that the council chose to use that space as a community space and a
Yeah.
gathering space.
Yeah, yeah,
Because ultimately it could have been used for another activity. It could have been a new studio. It could have been a new gym. But I think they realised that probably the need for a community space.
Yeah, definitely good that. Yeah,
I think
definitely.
so.
Yeah.
I think, regardless if it's walking football, if you come for a game of squash, or if you've come to a class, you can happily go in there.
Yeah.
I do a lot of my employee reviews in there, overlooking the pool, etc.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that they
Yeah.
kept a community space, really. So I think that they were looking at using that community space creatively. But we've got what we've got, and it gives you guys the opportunity to have a bit of a social after the
Yeah,
footy,
brilliant.
doesn't it?
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah.
Yeah, so chuffed with that.
Great, I think we're done.
Have you got any more questions, Keith?
No, I'm not getting more questions.
Thank you very much, Lee.
Pleasure.
And thank you, Keith. That's brilliant.
Relics
Well
TV.
done. RelicsTV, yeah.
Yeah, cheers for that. Appreciate it, lads.